Kong Do-yan was tired. He had worked for 16 hours straight, and his eyes burned from staring at screens. The space station Horizon's Edge floated in the darkness between stars. And Do-yan had called it home for 6 months now. He was a xenobiologist. His job was to study alien species and write reports about them. It was interesting work, but today had been too long. He needed rest. Do-yan walked through the metal hallways of the station. Aliens of many kinds passed him by. Some had forearms. Some had scales. Some floated instead of walked. Humans were still new to the United Galactic Coalition, and Do-yan often felt like a guest in someone else's house. He reached the observation lounge and sat down, near the large window. Stars filled the view like diamonds on black cloth. Do-yan pulled out his journal from his bag. This journal was his secret. While other crew members used digital devices, Do-yan preferred paper. Real paper made from trees that grew on Earth. The aliens found this very strange. Why would anyone write by hand when computers existed? But Do-yan liked the feeling of pen on paper. It helped him think. And more importantly, it was private. No one could hack into a paper journal. He opened to a fresh page and began to write. His hand moved slowly at first, then faster as words poured out. Today I observed the navigation team during their shift. The Volari navigator continues to impress me with her skill. Her name is Yura, and she moves with a grace I have never seen in any species. When she plots a course through asteroid fields, her hands dance across the controls like music. Do-yan paused. He looked out the window, then back at his journal. He should stop here. This was supposed to be a scientific observation log, but his pen kept moving. I must be honest with myself. Yura is beautiful. Her skin is blue, like the ocean on a clear day. It shimmers when light touches it, changing from dark blue to pale silver. Her eyes are silver too, like polished mirrors that see everything. And her horns curve back from her forehead in elegant spirals. I find her distractingly beautiful. When she enters a room, I forget what I was thinking about. This is not professional, but it is true. Do-yan stopped writing. His face felt warm. He was glad no one could see him. He leaned back in his chair and looked at the stars. The Volari were one of the oldest species in the Coalition. They lived for hundreds of years and valued logic over emotion. They probably would not understand why a human found one of them attractive. The thought made Do-yan smile sadly. It did not matter anyway. Yura barely knew his name. She nodded at him sometimes in the hallways. Nothing more. She was important. He was just a junior scientist who wrote in paper journals like some primitive creature. His eyes grew heavy. The stars blurred. Just for a moment, he thought. I will rest my eyes for just a moment. Do-yan fell asleep. When he woke up, the lounge was dark. The station had switched to night mode, dimming the lights to help crew members maintain their sleep cycles. Do-yan stretched and checked the time. He had slept for 2 hours. He grabbed his bag and hurried to his quarters. He needed real sleep in a real bed. His mind was foggy, and he did not notice the journal was not in his bag. He had left it on the seat, open to the page about why you are a dot. The next morning came too quickly. Do-yan showered, dressed, and headed to the mess hall for breakfast. The room was busy with aliens of all shapes and sizes. He got his food, a sad portion of rice and vegetables, looked for an empty table. Then he saw her. Yura sat alone at a corner table. This was unusual. She normally sat with other Volari, or with the senior officers. But today, she was alone, and she was looking directly at him. Their eyes met. Yura smiled. It was not a warm smile or a friendly smile. It was the smile of a cat who had caught a mouse. Do-yan felt cold. Something was wrong. Yura raised one elegant hand and gestured for him to come closer. Do-yan's legs moved before his brain could stop them. He walked across the mess hall, feeling like everyone was watching him. He reached her table and stood there awkwardly holding his tray. Please, Yura said. Her voice was smooth like honey. Sit, Do-yan sat. He still did not understand what was happening. Then Yura reached into her bag and pulled out something. Something familiar. His journal, Doyen's heart stopped. The blood drained from his face. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Yura placed the journal on the table between them. It was open to the page he had written last night. The page about her. I found this in the observation lounge, Yura said. I was going to return it without reading. We Valari respect privacy. But then I saw my name. Doyen wanted to disappear. He wanted the floor to open up and swallow him. He wanted to run away and never come back. I read what you wrote about me, Yura continued. She leaned forward and her silver eyes locked onto his. You think I am distractingly beautiful? You think my skin shimmers like ocean water. You notice my curves. I can explain, Doyen started, his voice weak. Can you? Yura tilted her head. The motion made her horns catch the light. Please. Explain to me why a human male writes poetry about my body in his private journal. It was not poetry, Doyen said. It was observation. I am a scientist. I observe things, Yura laughed. It was a surprising sound, musical and light. You observe my curves? This is science on your planet. Doyen's face burned red. Around them, other crew members were starting to notice their conversation. A group of engineers whispered to each other. A Krethian officer raised two of his eyebrows. I apologize, Doyen said. I did not mean any disrespect. I will delete the page. I will throw away the journal. Please forget this happened. Chura did not look angry. She looked curious. She looked at Doyen like he was a new species she had never seen before. Forget? She said softly. No, I do not think I will forget. You see, human, I have lived for 140 years. In all that time, no one has ever written about me the way you did. Your words were honest, raw, almost primitive in their directness. She leaned even closer. Close enough that Doyen could smell something like flowers from her skin. So you notice my curves, human. Her voice was low now, meant only for him. How refreshingly honest of your species. Tell me, Kung Doyen, what else do you notice? Doyen swallowed hard. He did not know if he was in trouble or in something much more dangerous. But one thing was certain. His life on this station had just become very complicated. The alien woman found my note and teased. So you notice my curves? Human, 3 weeks had passed since Yura found the journal. 3 weeks of torture for Kong Doyen. Yura had returned his journal that first morning with a mysterious smile. She had said nothing more about what she read, but she had not forgotten. Oh no, she had definitely not forgotten. It started small. Yura began appearing in places where Doyen worked. When he analyzed samples in the science lab, she would walk by the window. When he ate lunch in the mess hall, she would choose the table next to his. When he exercised in the gym, she would arrive minutes later to use the machine beside him. Coincidence, Doyen told himself at first. The station was not that big. People crossed paths all the time. But then the touching began. When Yura passed him in hallways, her hand would brush against his arm. When they stood in the same elevator, she would stand close enough for him to feel the warmth of her body. When they both reached for the same food item in the cafeteria line, her fingers would linger on his for just a moment too long. Doyen was going crazy. His best friend. Park Jisoo thought this was hilarious. You are living every man's dream, Jisoo said one evening in Doyen's quarters. Jisoo was an engineer with a loud voice and a bigger personality. They had been friends since training academy on Earth. A beautiful alien woman is chasing you around the station. She is not chasing me, Doyen said. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. She is playing with me. Like a toy? Same thing. Jisoo grinned. So what are you going to do about it? Nothing. She is the chief navigator. I am nobody. It would never work. The great human explorers did not say never work, Jisoo said. They said, let us try and see what happens. The great human explorers did not have to face a woman who has lived for 100. And 40 years in can read minds. Valari cannot read minds. Then, how does she know exactly where I will be before I get there? Jisoo had no answer for this. The next day, Do-yeon tried to avoid Yura. He took different routes through the station. He ate meals at strange hours. He worked late in his lab where few people came. It did not matter. Yura found him anyway. She appeared in his lab doorway just as he was finishing a report. The light from the hallway made her blue skin glow. Her silver eyes found him immediately. "Working late again, human?" she said. "Do you ever rest?" Do-yeon stood up quickly. His chair made a loud sound against the floor. "I have much work to do. Reports do not write themselves." Yura walked into the lab. She moved like water, smooth and graceful. She stopped at his desk and looked at his screens. "Xenobiology reports," she said. "You study alien species? Have you studied the Valari?" "Some basic information. Your species is very private about detailed research. They're private about many things." Yura picked up a small scanner from his desk. She turned it over in her blue fingers. "Yet you wrote about me in your journal? Very detailed observations? Have you written more since then?" Do-yeon's face grew warm. "No, I learned my lesson." "Pity." Yura set down the scanner. "I'd rather enjoyed being studied by human eyes. Your species sees things differently than others. You look for beauty even in strange places." "Beauty is not strange," Do-yeon said before he could stop himself. "You are not strange. You are remarkable." The words hung in the air between them. Yura's silver eyes widened just slightly. For a moment she looked surprised. Then her expression became curious. "Remarkable," she repeated. "This is what you think of me." Do-yeon wanted to take back the words, but he was tired of hiding, tired of pretending. If she was going to laugh at him, let her laugh now and be done with it. "Yes," he said firmly. "I think you are remarkable. The way you move, the way you think, the way you command respect without raising your voice. I have been on this station for 6 months. I have met many aliens. None of them are like you." Yura was silent. Her expression was unreadable. Do-yeon prepared himself for rejection, for mockery, for the end of whatever strange game she had been playing. Instead, she asked a question. Why do humans value such things? Beauty, grace, admiration? The Valari form bonds based on intellectual compatibility. Physical attraction is considered primitive. Yet you speak of my appearance as if it matters greatly. "Because it does matter," Diane said. "Where I come from, noticing beauty is not primitive. It is honest. When something is beautiful, why pretend otherwise? When someone impresses you, why hide it?" He stepped closer to her. His heart pounded hard, but he did not stop. "Maybe your species has lived so long that you forgot what honesty feels like. Maybe you have calculated everything for so many centuries that you forgot what it means to simply feel. But I am human. I feel things. And when I look at you, Yura, I feel something." The lab was very quiet. Yura stood perfectly still, looking at Do-yeon as if seeing him for the first time. "You are strange," she said finally. "Your species is young and short-lived and emotional to the point of irrationality. And yet you speak to me with more honesty than Valari males who have known me for decades. Is that bad?" "I do not know." Yura's voice was softer now. "I truly do not know." Before either of them could say more, an alarm sounded throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the hallway. "Hull breach drill," Yura said. Her navigator training took over immediately. "All crew to emergency positions." They both ran into the hallway. Other crew members were rushing to their stations. The alarm was deafening. In the chaos, Do-yeon lost sight of Yura. He made his way to his designated emergency area, a small storage bay near the science wing. He and several other crew members waited as the drill continued. Minutes passed. The alarm kept screaming. Then part of the ceiling exploded. Not a drill. A real breach. A small asteroid had broken through the hull. Air began rushing out through the hole. Crew members screamed and tried to hold on to anything stable. Do-yeon felt himself being pulled toward the breach. He grabbed a pipe on the wall and held tight. The air pressure was dropping fast. His lungs began to burn. Then something blocked his view. A body pressed against his, shielding him from the pull of the vacuum. blue arms wrapped around him, blue skin pressed against his face. Why you are. She had come from nowhere, putting herself between Doyen and the breach. Her Valari body was stronger than his human one. She held them both in place as emergency doors finally slammed shut, sealing the breach. The pulling stopped. Air pressure returned. The alarm faded. Doyen looked up at Yura. She was breathing hard. Her silver eyes were wide, almost shocked. Why? Doyen whispered. Why did you protect me? Yura pulled away quickly. She smoothed her uniform and composed her expression. But her hands were shaking slightly. I do not know, she said again. Her voice was almost scared. I truly do not know. She turned and walked away. Leaving Doyen alone with his questions and his racing heart, the alien woman found my note and teased. So, you notice my curves human 1 month after the whole breach? Doyen received new orders. He would join a diplomatic mission to the neutral moon of HFY, the United Galactic. Coalition was holding a summit there, and human representatives were needed. Cultural liaison, his commander told him. You will help translate human customs for the other species. Your xenobiology background makes you perfect for this. Doyen was excited at first. Then he learned who else was joining the mission. Yuru would be the lead navigator. Since the hull breach, things between them had become awkward. Yura still appeared near him sometimes, but she no longer touched his arm or stood too close. She seemed confused by her own actions that day. Confused and maybe a little frightened, Doyen understood. He was confused too. But he could not stop thinking about how she had protected him without hesitation. The journey to HFY took 3 days. Doyen spent most of it studying the species who would attend the summit. He saw Yura only during meals, and they barely spoke. Captain Omare, the commander of their human diplomatic vessel, noticed the tension. Is there a problem between you and the Valari navigator? She asked Doyen privately. No problem, Captain. Just cultural differences. Murray raised an eyebrow but did not push further. She was a sharp woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had been a diplomat for 20 years. Cultural differences can be bridges or walls, she said. Choose wisely which you build. HFY was a small moon covered in white buildings and silver towers. Representatives from 50 species had gathered there. Doyen had never seen so many aliens in one place. The summit began with formal greetings and boring speeches. Doyen stood with the human delegation, trying to look important. He caught Yura watching him once across the crowded hall. She looked away quickly. On the second day, something unexpected happened. A tall Valari male approached their group. He had the same blue skin and silver eyes as Yura, but his expression was cold and proud. His robes were covered in symbols of high status. Ambassador Rin, Captain Murray, whispered to Doyen. Very powerful in Valari politics. Very traditional. Rin walked straight to Yura. He spoke in the Valari language, but Doyen's translator caught most of it. Yura, it has been many years. You look well. Yura's body went stiff. Ambassador, I did not expect you here. Came specifically because I heard you would attend. Rin smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Our families have waited long enough. It is time to discuss our bonding arrangement. Doyen felt his stomach drop. Bonding arrangement. That meant marriage, or whatever the Valari called it. Yura's voice was ice cold. I left our homeworld precisely to avoid that arrangement. My answer has not changed. Your mother is very ill, Rin said casually. She wishes to see you bonded before she passes. Would you deny a dying woman her wish? Yura flinched, as if struck. For a moment, her composure cracked. Pain flashed across her silver eyes. Rin noticed the human delegation watching. His lip curled in disgust. Ah, I see you have been working with humans. He looked at Doyen like one might look at an insect. Strange creatures. So emotional. So primitive. Their lifespan is barely a blink compared to ours. I'm amazed the Coalition allows them at diplomatic events. Doyen felt anger rise in his chest. He knew he should stay silent. He was just a junior scientist. This was not his fight. But he remembered Yura's arms around him during the hull breach. He remembered her asking why humans valued honesty. He remembered her saying she did not know why she protected him. He stepped forward. "Excuse me, Ambassador. I could not help but overhear." Rin looked at him with surprise and contempt. The human speaks. How entertaining. What could you possibly have to say? "I have a question," Doyen said calmly. "You call humans emotional and primitive. But which of us came to a diplomatic summit to pressure a woman into marriage? Which of us used her dying mother as a weapon? That seems quite emotional to me." The hall grew quiet. Other delegates stopped their conversations to watch. Rin's face darkened. "You dare address me this way? You who will be dead and forgotten before I even grow old?" "Maybe," Doyen agreed. "But in my short life, I have already traveled across the galaxy. I have met species your ancestors only dreamed about. Humanity went from horse-drawn carts to starships in 300 years. How long did it take the Valari? 3,000. 4. Whispers spread through the crowd. No one spoke to a Valari ambassador this way. "You call us primitive because we feel things strongly," Doyen continued. "But our emotions drive us forward. We love, so we explore. We fear death, so we create things that outlast us. We get angry at injustice, so we fight for what is right." He looked directly at Yura. She was staring at him with an expression he could not read. "You've been alive for hundreds of years," Doyen said to Rin. "But have you ever truly lived? Have you ever loved someone so much it hurt? Have you ever been so passionate about something that you could not sleep? Or have you spent centuries calculating and planning and feeling nothing at all?" Rin was shaking with rage. "You know nothing of the Valari way?" "Maybe not. But I know that Navigator Yura left her homeworld to escape you. I know she has served the Coalition with honor and skill. And I know that she deserves to choose her own path, not have it chosen by politicians and dying relatives." He turned to face the watching crowd. "Humanity may be young. We may be emotional. We may die quickly compared to other species. But we are not primitive. We are alive. And I would rather live one passionate human life than 1,000 cold Valari years." Rin looked like he wanted to kill Doyen. Captain Murray looked proud but worried. The other delegates looked shocked. Yura said nothing at all. Later that evening, Doyen sat alone in his quarters on the diplomatic ship. He was certain his career was over. Speaking to an ambassador that way, causing an incident at an important summit. He would be lucky if they only fired him. A knock came at his door. He opened it to find Yura standing there. Her eyes were red as if she had been crying, though he did not know if Valerie could cry. "May I come in?" she asked quietly. Doyen stepped aside. Yura entered and stood in the center of the small room. She did not sit. She just stood there, looking at him. "No one has ever defended me like that," she said finally. "In 140 years, no one has ever stood up for me against someone like Rin. Why would you risk your standing, your career, for someone who has done nothing but tease and confuse you?" Doyen thought about his answer carefully. Then he decided to be honest, as he always was. "Because you are worth it," he said simply. "Because you protected me during the breach without thinking about it. Because even though you pretend to be cold and logical, I have seen the real you. And she is worth defending." Yura's composure finally broke. A single silver tear rolled down her blue cheek. "I do not understand you," she whispered. "I do not understand humans at all. But I think perhaps that is why I cannot stop thinking about you." She stepped closer to him. Close enough that he could see his reflection in her silver eyes. "Teach me," she said. "Teach me what it means to truly feel." Doyen took her hand in his. Her blue skin was warm against his palm. "I will try," he promised. "For as long as I live, I will try." The alien woman found my note and teased. "So you notice my curves?" Human 3 months had passed since the summit on Keth 4. Everything had changed. Kang, Doyen, and Yura no longer hid their connection. They ate meals together openly. They walked side by side through the station hallways. When Dojan worked late in his lab, Yura would bring him tea and sit nearby. Reading her navigation charts while he wrote reports, The crew of Horizon's Edge had many opinions about this. "It is beautiful," said one human nurse. "Love across the stars. Like something from an old movie." "It is strange," said a Krethian officer. "Their species are nothing alike. How can they understand each other?" "It is scandalous," said another Valari crew member. "She brings shame to our people by bonding with such a short-lived creature." Doyon heard all of these comments. He did not care. For the first time in his life, he felt truly happy. Yura was changing too. She smiled more often now. She laughed at Doyin's jokes, even the bad ones. She asked him questions about Earth, about human families, about how it felt to love someone. "We Valari do not experience emotion the same way," she explained one night as they sat together in the observation lounge. "We feel things, but distantly. Like watching a fire through glass instead of warming our hands beside it." "Is that changing?" Doyon asked. Yura looked at him with her silver eyes. In the starlight, her blue skin glowed softly. "When I am with you," she said slowly, "the glass becomes thinner. Sometimes I think it might break entirely." Doyon took her hand. "Would that be bad?" "I do not know. It terrifies me. But it also feels like waking up after sleeping for 100 years. Their happiness did not last. Nothing good ever does." One morning, Yura received a message from her homeworld. Doyon found her in her quarters, staring at a screen with a blank expression. She did not look at him when he entered. "My mother is dying," she said. "Truly dying this time? The doctors give her only weeks." Doyon sat beside her. "I am so sorry. There's more." Yura's voice was hollow. "Ambassador Rin has made a deal with my family's council. If I return to Valari Prime and complete the bonding ceremony with him, he will pay for my mother's medical care. The best doctors in the coalition, treatments that might extend her life for years." Doyon felt cold. That is blackmail. That is politics. Rin wants what he has always wanted. He sees me as a prize, a symbol of his power, and now he is using my mother as leverage. "You cannot give in to this," Doyon said. "There must be another way." "There is no other way. My family is not wealthy. Without Rin's money, my mother will die in pain. With his money, she might live to see many more years. How can I choose my own happiness over her life?" Yura finally looked at him. Her silver eyes were full of pain. "I have to accept the bonding. I am sorry, Doyon. I am so sorry." Doyon was quiet for a long moment. He thought about what she was saying. He thought about what it meant. Then he made a decision. "Then I am coming with you." Yura stared at him. "What?" "I am coming to Valari Prime. No human has ever visited your homeworld. I will be the first." "You cannot. Rin will never allow it. My family's council will never allow it. They will see you as an insult." Good Doyon said firmly. "Let them be insulted. Let them see that humans do not abandon the people they care about. I will not let you face this alone. Doyon, they might hurt you. They might imprison you. They might do worse. I do not care. You protected me during the whole breach without thinking about your own safety. Now it is my turn to protect you." Yura opened her mouth to argue. Then she closed it. Then she did something Doyon had never seen her do before. She cried. Silver tears ran down her blue cheeks. Her body shook with sobs. Doyon held her close, letting her release emotions she had kept locked away for decades. "Why?" she whispered against his chest. "Why do you care so much?" "Because that is what humans do," he said. "We are irrational that way." 1 week later, they arrived at Valari Prime. The planet was beautiful and cold. Great cities of white crystals stretched toward purple skies. Everything was perfect, symmetrical, controlled. There was no chaos, no dirt, no imperfection anywhere. Doyon hated it immediately. The Valari who greeted their ship looked at him with disgust. They had heard about the human who challenged, Ambassador Rin. They had heard about the human who had corrupted one of their own. They whispered in their language. Not knowing, his translator caught every word. Primitive creature, ugly and pink. He will be dead before the century ends. Why would Yura waste herself on such a brief life? Doyan kept his head high. He was here for Yura. Nothing else mattered. They were taken to the medical center where Yura's mother lay dying. The old Valari woman was thin and fragile, her blue skin pale and gray, but her silver eyes still sparkled when she saw her daughter. Yura, my child. You came. Yura knelt beside her mother's bed. Of course I came, mother. I will always come. The old woman's eyes moved to Doyan. She studied him for a long moment. This is the human, she said. The one who makes your eyes shine. Bring him closer. Doyan approached carefully. He bowed in the Valari fashion, hands pressed together before his chest. I am honored to meet you, Elder. Yura speaks of you with great love. The old woman laughed weakly. It was a surprising sound in the sterile room. He is polite, this human. And brave too, from what I hear. You stood against Rin at the summit? That took courage. I only spoke the truth, Doyan said. The truth. The old woman reached out a trembling hand. Doyan let her touch his face. Her fingers were cold but gentle. We Valari have forgotten the value of simple truth. We hide behind logic and tradition because the truth frightens us. She looked at her daughter. Yura, my child. I know why you came back. I know about Rin's offer, but I want you to listen to me carefully. Yura leaned closer. Yes, mother. Do not sacrifice your happiness for my sake. I have lived a long life, but I have also lived a cold one. I followed tradition. I married for duty instead of love. And I've spent centuries wondering what I missed. Tears fell from Yura's eyes again. Mother, I cannot let you die. Everyone dies, child. Even Valari eventually. The question is not how long we live, but how we live. The old woman looked at Doyan again. This human understands that. I can see it in his eyes. He has more wisdom in his short years than Rin has in his many centuries. She gripped Yura's hand with surprising strength. Fight another way. Fight for your happiness. Promise me. Promise, Yura whispered. I promise, mother. The bonding ceremony was scheduled for the following day. Rin had arranged everything. The great hall was decorated. The officials were gathered. Everything was perfect. As the Valari liked it, but Dohun had a plan. He had spent all night studying Valari law and tradition, and he had found something interesting. Something old. Something that might change everything. When the ceremony began, Rin stood at the front of the hall in ceremonial robes. Yuta walked toward him in white, her face a mask of sorrow. The officials read from ancient texts, then Doyan stepped forward. I invoke the challenge of worth. The hall fell silent. Every eye turned to him. Rin's face twisted with shock and rage. What did you say? Rin demanded. The challenge of worth, Doyan repeated. An ancient Valari, right? If someone believes they have greater worth than the chosen mate, they may challenge for the right to bond. I am challenging you, Rin. Whispers exploded through the crowd. This was impossible. A human challenging a Valari ambassador? But the head official stepped forward, checking his texts. His expression was troubled. The law is old, but it still stands. If the challenger proves greater worth than the chosen mate, the bonding may be refused. Rin laughed bitterly. You fool. The challenge of worth has 3 trials. You cannot possibly win against me. Doyan looked at Yura. She stood frozen, hope and fear fighting in her silver eyes. Maybe not, Doyan said, but I am going to try. The alien woman found my note and teased, so you notice my curves. Human, the Grand Forum of Velarai Prime was the largest building Kang Doyan had ever seen. White crystal pillars stretched toward the sky like frozen giants. Thousands of Valari filled the viewing galleries, their silver eyes watching with cold curiosity. Human was about to compete in the ancient challenge of worth. Nothing like this had ever happened in all of Valari history. Doyan stood in the center of the forum, wearing simple clothes. Across from him stood Ambassador Rin in ceremonial armor, looking confident and amused. 3 trials, the head official announced. Knowledge, endurance, and sacrifice. The challenger who proves greater worth in 2 of 3 trials wins the right to bond with Yura. Yura sat in a special section, guarded by officials. She could not speak or interfere. All she could do was watch. Doyen met her eyes. She looked terrified, but also hopeful. He gave her a small nod. "I will not fail you." The first trial began. Knowledge, 2 screens appeared before. Doyen and Rin questions flashed across them, covering science, history, politics, and philosophy from every species in the coalition. Rin answered quickly and confidently. He had lived for over 400 years. His mind contained more information than any human could learn in a dozen lifetimes. Doyen struggled at first. The questions about Valari history stumped him. The questions about ancient coalition treaties made no sense. But then something interesting happened. A question appeared about solving a complex navigation problem. Rin calculated the traditional answer using standard formulas. Doyen looked at the problem differently. He saw patterns that the formula missed. He found a shortcut. His answer was faster and more efficient. More questions came. Doyen could not match Rin's raw knowledge, but he could match his creativity. Human minds had evolved for rapid problem solving, for seeing connections that others missed, for thinking outside expected patterns. When the trial ended, the scores were displayed. Rin had answered more questions correctly, but Doyen had answered complex problems faster and better. "The knowledge trial is close," the official announced. "Ambassador Rin wins by a narrow margin." Rin smiled smugly. "One trial down, human. Do you wish to surrender now?" "No," Doyen said calmly. "We continue." Second trial. Endurance. This was physical. Challengers had to cross a course filled with obstacles while carrying heavy weights. The course was designed for Valari bodies, which were stronger and more resilient than human bodies. Doyen knew he would struggle, but he had a plan. The trial began. Rin moved smoothly through the obstacles, his Valari strength making the weights seem light. Doyen labored behind him, his human muscles screaming in protest. Climbing walls tore Doyen's hands. Crossing water features left him shivering. Crawling through narrow tunnels scraped his skin raw. Every step was agony, but Doyen did not stop. Rin reached the halfway point and looked back. He expected to see the human collapsed on the ground. Instead, he saw Doyen still moving. Slowly, painfully, but moving. The crowd began to murmur. This human was clearly suffering. His body was clearly failing. Yet he kept going. Rin continued on, reaching the 3/4 mark. Surely the human would give up now. Doyen fell to his knees. His arms shook. His breath came in ragged gasps. Blood dripped from his torn hands. But he did not stop. He crawled forward on his hands and knees. When his arms gave out, he pulled himself with his elbows. When that became impossible, he dragged himself forward with his fingers. The crowd grew silent. Even the cold Valari could not look away from this display of pure determination. Rin watched from ahead. His expression changed from amusement to disbelief to something else. Was it respect or fear? He had always been told that humans were weak. Their bodies were fragile. Their lives were short. But this human was refusing to accept those limitations. This human was fighting against his own biology through sheer force of will. Rin looked at the remaining obstacles. They would hurt. They would be undignified. He would have to struggle like the human was struggling. For the first time in 400 years, Rin faced a choice. Suffer indignity or quit. He chose to quit. "I withdraw from this trial," Rin announced. His voice was stiff. "I see no point in continuing a physical contest." The crowd gasped. Doyen, still dragging himself forward, looked up in confusion. "Ambassador Rin has withdrawn," the official said. "The human wins the endurance trial." Doyen collapsed on the ground, breathing hard. Medical attendants rushed to help him, but he waved them away. He forced himself to stand on shaking legs. "One trial each," he said, through gritted teeth. "We continue." It's a third and final trial, sacrifice. This was different from the others. There was no test, no competition. Each challenger simply had to declare what they would sacrifice for the right to bond with Yura. Rin went first. I offer my family's wealth, he said grandly. Estates spanning 3 planets, trading routes throughout the coalition, political power that has taken generations to build. All of this I sacrifice for Yura. The crowd murmured in appreciation. It was a massive offering, more than most Valari would ever possess. Now it was Dwyne's turn. He stood alone in the center of the forum. He had no wealth, no estates, no political power. He had nothing that a Valari would consider valuable. But he had something else. I offer my time, Doyan said. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the silent hall. I am human. I will live maybe 80 years if I am lucky. Yura will live for centuries more after I am gone. He looked at her, sitting in her guarded section. Silver tears were already falling down her blue cheeks. I offer every remaining year of my life, Doyan continued. Every day, every hour, every moment. I will spend all of it making Yura happy. I will grow old while she stays young. I will weaken while she stays strong. Eventually, I will die, and she will have to continue without me. His voice broke slightly, but he kept going. This is my sacrifice. Not wealth that can be rebuilt. Not power that can be regained. My sacrifice is time itself. The only thing I have that I cannot get back. He faced the crowd of ancient, powerful Valari. You measure worth in centuries. You think long lives make you superior, but I measure worth in moments. In the smile on someone's face, in the laughter shared between friends, in the warmth of holding someone you love. He pointed at Rin. He offers things. I offer myself. He offers centuries of cold comfort. I offer however many years I have left of genuine love. The forum was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then a single voice rang out. I choose the human. Yura had stood up from her guarded section. The officials tried to stop her, but she pushed past them and walked into the center of the forum. I choose Kang Do-yeon, she said clearly. I choose a short life of real love over centuries of empty tradition. I choose the man who taught me that feelings are not weakness. I choose humanity. She reached Do-yeon and took his hand. I choose you, she whispered. Rin exploded in rage. This is not allowed. She cannot simply choose. The trials must be judged. But the head official stepped forward. His old face showed something rare for a Valari. Emotion. The challenge of worth is about proving value, he said slowly. Ambassador Rin offered things. The human offered himself. In the old texts, this is called the true sacrifice. It is the highest form of worth. He looked at the crowd of watching Valari. We have lived for millennia. We have built great civilizations. But when did we forget what this human still knows? When did we become so focused on living long that we forgot to truly live? He raised his hand in a formal gesture. The challenge is complete. Kang Do-yeon of Earth has proven greater worth. The bonding between Yura and Ambassador Rin is dissolved. She is free to choose her own path. The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some protested. Rin stormed out of the forum in fury, but Do-yeon barely noticed any of it. He only saw Yura standing before him with tears of joy in her silver eyes. You won, she said. You actually won. I had good motivation, he replied. You are worth fighting for. Yura laughed and pulled him into an embrace. Her blue arms wrapped around his battered body. Her silver tears fell on his shoulder. I love you, she said. I love you, Kang Do-yeon of Earth. I do not know how long we will have together, but I will treasure every moment. So will I, Do-yeon promised. Every single one. 5 years later, Do-yeon and Yura served as ambassadors, traveling between Earth and Valari Prime, helping build bridges between their peoples. Their story had inspired others. More humans visited the Valari homeworld. More Valari came to Earth to experience human passion and emotion. The galaxy was changing. The youngest species was teaching the oldest ones how to feel again, in their quarters on a diplomatic station. Do-yeon still kept his paper journal. He was older now, with some gray in his hair and more lines on his face. Yura looked exactly the same, as Valari always did. One evening, she found him writing in his journal.